Welcome everybody to Fantasy Sports Now. This is part 2 of the MLB projected standings. They come out with this algorithm every year. Everybody looks forward to it, and I always feel like it's a little bit off, and we see that every year. So I want to look into it with you guys and kind of get some of your feelings, figure out what the truth really is. We already did the AL East, and so this is part 2. Go check out part 1. Hit me with whatever you want, subs, like, whatever. I don't care. Hit me up with it. I'm a guy of content, so let's dive into the AL Central and let's get going into this. So this is, again, this big algorithm that they come out with every year. I'm obviously a Detroit guy, so the AL Central is my bread and butter right here. Been watching this division for a very, very long time, and I think that they have some of this right, but I think they have one blaring mistake that we'll get into here. So first of all, again, division, they're thinking that 62% chance that Minnesota wins the division. I think that that's pretty fair. They're coming in with a basically 24% chance with Cleveland and about 14 for Chicago. Spoiler alert, I think that this is the blaring problem that I'll get into in a second. I really feel that they've mixed around these two. I think that I think it's finally going to catch up with Cleveland, where they've sold a bit too much, and their reign of being able to sell and still win is going to come to a crashing halt this year. I don't think they're going to be terrible, because they still have a great team, but I really think that it's time for Chicago to be elevated and to potentially win this division. So to say 14% right here for me is way too low. And let's get into these teams. This is what we did last time, and I want to do it again. So Minnesota, they're coming in at 90 wins, and I think that that's probably fair. And let's jump into the team here. I think that there's a good chance Minnesota wins this division again. Through and through, I really do like their lineup. They do, small signs that are really just good for their team. Like, I'm generally a fantasy sports kind of guy, but like getting Simmons here is a great move. Such a great defensive shortstop, and he's like one of these guys that's always on. They bring him in. Like, it didn't work out for the Angels; they didn't make the playoffs. But I feel like this spot is such a good spot for him. But through and through, the lineup is pretty solid. Donaldson's always hurt, which obviously is a pain. I don't ever see Nelson Cruz stop it. Like, he's like Ortiz for me. He's gonna hit until he retires. And every year we say, oh, it's the last year for Cruz, but it never is. And if we go down the lineup, Sano, I like. Killer off, I like. Everything about this lineup, I really do like. This is where I feel like that 90 win mark isn't that far out of the future. Don't really love the starting pitching, but if you watch the first one, so far I haven't really liked anybody starting pitching. Maybe that's what this is. You need a good 3, and then you go from there. Buros, I do like. Kenta Maeda was amazing. He proved me wrong last year. I just didn't believe it. He's coming from a relief pitching spot into a starting pitching spot, and all of a sudden he made that work. So, major props to him, because he had an absolutely phenomenal year. The problem is, after that, with me, Pineda has been good when he pitches, but he never pitches. He's always hurt. So they're going to have to come up with something there, obviously. J.A. Happ is a guy that is not going to get you innings. He's good when he's out there for the most part, you can see their projections here. He's not going to get you innings. So I probably shouldn't say any of this, but, I went to Eastern Michigan University. So did Shoemaker. I love him. He's the guy that took the headshot and on a comebacker, and somehow, he almost died. If you don't care about the gruesomeness of it, go watch it, because the seriousness of his situation was mind-blowing. And for him to come back and actually have a career after that was amazing. So pause this video, go watch that one, and come back. It was amazing. I always support him because he's from EMU. But look at this, though. Bullpen right here. This team through and through is strong. So from bullpen to starting pitching to hitting, this is why they have them so high. At 90 wins, I think that that's fair. I think it might be even a little higher than that, especially given if you look at the Yankees, how high they have that. I think that Minnesota can compete with every team in this division. Here's where it takes a turn for me, and I'm going to skip Cleveland and I'm going to go to Chicago because I think Chicago could very well and probably will win the division this year, which means they're going to have to be bumped up at least 8 to 10 wins, which is dramatically different than what they're showing here. So Cleveland, just hold on 1 second. I'm going to jump to Chicago, and a lot of us will say, oh, the hype train is real for Chicago. I really seriously believe this team, and that hurts me as a long-standing Tigers fan. It hurts me to sit here and admit that Chicago White Sox have a good team and a good team for the future, and I don't like that. But here we are. Here we sit today. Anderson, very underrated. Eaton, yeah, veteran, whatever. Abreu just coming off an MVP season. This right here, these three, if one of them breaks out, it's going to be a great year for Chicago. I could see all three of them. Moncada's going to come back to form. He had the whole COVID thing, and it really messed him up. He's going to come back to form. But Eloy and Robert are one of them's gonna absolutely bust, and it could be both of them. They're both top 5 prospects, and it is going to be amazing. I mean, look at this lineup all the way through. That doesn't even count Madrigal, who we're kind of, the jury's out, singles hitter. But I think this lineup could be one of the best hitting lineups in baseball. If either of these guys or both break out, I mean, we could be talking World Series here. Now, okay. Again, this is coming from a Tiger fan, so I don't like any of this. So far, as well, this might be the best starting pitching rotation that we've seen from start to finish. Lance Lynn coming in, I think he's more realistically number 2, but he had an amazing year last year, and I don't see why that's going to be all that much different. I'm a big believer in Dylan Cease, not just because I own him in Dynasty, but he was a top 40, I think he got into the top 30 prospects that people just kind of forget that he exists. And this doesn't account for Michael Kopech, who's going to start let's see if they have him in here. Yeah, he's going to start in the bullpen, they said. So this is a big name as well. They got Liam Hendricks, who I think, this dude, Liam Hendricks is such a shutdown closer. It's fun to watch, honestly, because, when you're watching the game and you're watching the chat and people are like, oh, he's going to blow it, it's like, dude, no, this game is over. You don't even need to watch it. It's got a little bit of a Rivera feel. It's like, this game is over. So, I mean, through and through, I could see not only Chicago winning the division, but I think they could make a playoff run, and be excited if you're in Chicago, honestly, and don't be excited if you're from Detroit. Cleveland, I think this is a little, it might not be inaccurate, but I think it is a little high. I think Cleveland's going to fall from grace, like I said. So let's go and find Cleveland here. They lose Carlos Santana, who, he's not like a great fantasy guy, but, he's a good real-life player who gets you production. He's on base a lot. Yeah, he hit under 200, but his OBP was, well above 300. He walks all the time. Good hitter late, too. They lose Lindor. Obviously, we all know Lindor. He's a freaking stud. They lose Carlos Carrasco, who I think he's still a top 2015 pitcher. So they've lost some massive value through their lineup. And when you look at it now, it just looks depleted. From top to bottom. If you put Lindor back in here and you put Santana back in here, then you're like, okay, yeah, this seems like a team that can compete. But the only real massive hitter that they have is Jose Ramirez. And outside of that, you're kind of struggling for offense. And they struggled last year for offense with those guys. So I don't know how they expect that they're going to magically come up with more offense with less talent. So that is a big scare for me. I think that Jimenez and Rosario are good, maybe future guys, but they're not going to be these superstars that come in and change the foundation of the offense. I really don't think so. I think their offense is going to tank. I really do. And that's going to also hurt, especially in fantasy, their starting pitching values. Bieber just got COVID, so, that obviously sucks, and hopefully he recovers. I think that he's fantastic. I think he's a top 5. He'll probably regress slightly from that season. He's the guy you want in the playoffs starting for you. And I think that, these two guys are very similar. I think that they're solid, but this lineup here, the starting pitching is not strong enough to carry the offense. And I think that that's going to hurt them. I think they're going to be maybe 500 this year because of that. And it hurts because honestly, like as a Detroit fan watching Cleveland, I feel bad for you fans because every year it seems like if you add one piece, you could make a World Series run, a legitimate World Series run. And what do they do instead? They sell off a piece and say, hey, you know what? We're content with just barely making the playoffs and then taking an early exit. That's such a slap in the face for a fan, but especially if you're from Cleveland. It's such a slap in the face, and I feel bad because this team has such potential to make a big run and win some World Series, and they just didn't. And I feel bad for you guys. And again, this is coming. I'll say I said it 1,500 times, but this is coming from a Detroit Tigers fan. I feel bad for you guys. Like you should have been in this mix, and I feel like now it's going to fall off, and that's really sad. I really do think so. Bullpen, nothing too crazy to talk about here. You know. I like Karinchak. I like him a lot as a closer in fantasy, but I don't think that that's going to really make up for this massive, like, offensive lack. Let's jump back in. So, again, I think that this is fair. I think that Chicago is going to win 10 more games. I think Cleveland's going to go down. I actually think that Kansas City is going to be better than people think. You know, bad teams nowadays, they like to tank. Kind of like the Tigers did. That's what we're doing. But Kansas City they're not fully tanking, and I like that for baseball. I appreciate that. I think that that's fun. You know, they do end up with Santana. Like, okay, so just take a glimpse at this offensive lineup. This offensive lineup is better than Cleveland's. I'd say by quite a lot. You have Muirfield, who's awesome. Benintendi, who is fallen from grace, but he was once a talented outfielder, and he's still young and could do it. Salvador Perez, Santana, Soler, Mondesi. I mean, like, you're at 6 here, and Mondesi might be their best hitter. You know, Soler's going to come back. He's going to bounce back, and I think he's going to have another home run-ridden, massive year. You can kind of see over here. Hunter Dozier is no slouch either. So this lineup is better than Cleveland's offensive lineup. Where they fall from grace here, obviously, is in the starting pitching. Danny Duffy is still their number one, guy, and kind of like I said in the last one, most people probably don't even know who some of these guys are unless you're a little bit more deep. Brady Singer was prospect now come up. These are first-round draft picks that they're taking, but they have no experience up. You have no idea what you're going to get from them. So this is where they obviously lack versus a Cleveland, but I think that to kind of say that 71 wins with this hitting lineup, I think that this is going to go up. I think they'll be more competitive with Cleveland than people want to admit. I think this will be more like 75, 76, and this will be more like 80. All right, let's talk about the Tigers. I've been talking about it this whole time. 65 wins seems fair. It might be a little lower than that. I think that they're putting the 65 solely based on the success of Mize and not Turkelson. What's his name? Skubal, who I'm not seeing in this list for some reason, but I'm assuming Casey Mize and Skubal are going to be starting. They signed to Heron. Boyd is brutal. I mean, the hitting lineup is not great. Mazzara, I like that sign just as a Tiger, like as a fan. I think that he's got some upside that maybe he could do something with. But this hitting lineup it's just, it's kind of a modge podge of guys that we're hoping that we can sell and kind of keep up with the young group. So, I mean, Tigers, like I said, I'm not expecting a whole lot. I think that this ranking is fair. I don't need to spend too much time. I don't think that they're going to win the division. I don't think they're going to compete for the division. I think that that's 2 years out, and I think that them and Chicago are going to have some major battles in 2024, 2025. So, quick overview. I would lower this. This needs to go way up. This needs to go down. I would move this up a few percentages as well, and Detroit's good where they're at. So, anyway, guys, appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying this little kind of mini series. Hopefully you're getting some benefit. If you do, give me a like, give me a sub, and we'll do the next one.